Hello everyone, welcome back to Illustrator. Today we're going to work through chapter 12 in the book on using brushes. And brushes are a very cool feature in Illustrator. They allow us to have some artistic options and make things look a little bit more hand-drawn. And we're going to learn about the different brush types, how we use them, how we change options, and how we apply them. So the first thing you need to do is open the L12 start file like you see here on the screen. And we are going to do a save as and give that a name, excuse me, of vacation, your name, vacation poster. All right, we're going to save that as the 2020 format. By the way, if you didn't know, at Adobe Max last week when they announced, when that conference was going on, they also announced all the new releases. So Adobe 2021 versions are available for download. However, if you use them at home and send me that version, I'm going to need to be on 2021 as well to be able to open it. So if you could just hold off until I get back to school this week and find out what our options are in the classroom, I would appreciate that. And even if I can't get it to work there, I will definitely figure out. I'm not going to tell you not to upgrade because we all should, but if you could just give it a couple of days, that would be great. All right, so we're ready to go. We're going to be working with brushes. So brushes can decorate paths, and they can use patterns, figures, different brush strokes, textures, angled strokes, a lot of neat things. We can apply brush strokes to existing paths. So you see in this start document, we have a lot of just pink lines here, just paths. We're going to apply a brush to these paths that already exist. And we can draw them organically from the start with a brush stroke tool, which will not only make the path, but it will apply the brush to it in one move. So there's 5 types of brushes that are in our brush panel. So let's just grab that first. Window, brushes. Bring that over here. And in the flyout menu at the top right, we have calligraphic brushes, scatter brushes, art brushes, bristle brushes, and pattern brushes. So we're going to work through them group by group. I'm going to start with the calligraphy family, the calligraphic, and that's this top area right here. But just to make the screen a little bit clearer, up in this bar, or in this menu right here, we're going to turn off the others. So we're not going to show the art brushes, so a bunch went away. Unfortunately, we have to keep clicking back on this menu to get to this again. Don't show the bristle brushes and don't show the pattern brushes. So this brings us back to just a few calligraphy brushes. And we are also going to be in list view. So we're going to switch to this option. How bristles work are they are just basically an ellipse, an elliptical shape, and the center follows the path. So if it's a wide ellipse and we pull straight down, we get a wide stroke. If it's in a wide ellipse and we pull to the right, we get a skinny stroke or brush. All right, take our selection tool and we're going to pick one of these pink paths that's in our artboard already, in artboard 1. And I'll just switch to fit, whoops, didn't mean to do that, fit artboard 1 in the window. There we go. So we have this one selected. And to quickly grab the rest of these without shift clicking, we're just going to do a select, same stroke color. So all of the hot pinks will be selected at once. So there they all are. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Back over in our brush window, we're going to choose the 40-point flat brush to apply it. And the color stays what it was. It stays that hot pink. So here again, you can see that the ellipse is tallest here, and as we start pulling down, it gets skinnier and skinnier. So it's a nice hand-drawn look. We're going to change our stroke to be 3 points over here in our properties panel. And we're going to change our, I'm sorry, not our fill. They don't have fills, they just have strokes. change the stroke to white. And then we're going to come back to our properties panel again, and we're going to drop the opacity down to about 20%. So it gives the illusion of wind. And click away to deselect. So the opacity, the stroke, the size, we completely changed up this image. So that's applying a brush to an existing path. Next, we're going to look at working directly with the paintbrush tool. So back in your toolbar, B for brush, click on the paintbrush tool. And we're going to come over to our brushes. And right now we have, a handful of them here, but we do have the library icon in the lower left, which means there's a lot of other brushes we can look at. So if we click in here, we see we have arrows, we have artistic, with borders, bristle brushes, decorative brushes, etc. We're going to go into the artistic family, and we're going to choose artistic calligraphic. And this is going to pop up another window with a bunch of other brushes. Inside here, just note that if we do pick on one of these, and let's switch to list view, so we have a name next to it. There we go. If we pick one of these, it's going to add it to our current brushes in this document and in this document only. So from our additional options, we're going to choose the 15-point flat. And notice it gets loaded, or it's added to our current brushes, and it's also highlighted. And then we can close this floating window. So we just grabbed that new one and put it in our active brushes. Before we move ahead, before we paint, we're gonna have a fill color of none. Our stroke color is going to be white, and our stroke is going to be, just 1 point. And we're gonna bring the opacity all the way back up. If we move our cursor over here into the artboard down in the water, we see that we have a star next to it, which indicates that we're about to start doing something. So we're about to start painting a new path. What I want you to do is just create a short path, something like this, and notice how it behaves. It doesn't have to look like mine, just something similar. Create a few more waves in here or paths like this. It's very intuitive. And when you're done making a few more paths, we're just going to come up here and we're going to do a File, Save As. And this is through page 336. All right, I'm going to deselect everything. Next, we're going to use the paintbrush tool to edit one of the paths that we already painted. So with our selection tool, we're going to click to select any one of these paths that we just drew. I'll just grab that one. We're going to switch to the paintbrush now, and we're going to move the pointer over the selected path. And when we do that, notice that our asterisk goes away. When we're away from it, we get an asterisk, which means we'll start a new path. When we're actually on it, we don't see the asterisk, and that means that we can work from there. So if we continue on, our path will continue on. It picks up from where it left off. Hold the command tool, which is going to give us our selection tool again, and click on another path. Let go of the command tool, and we're right back at our brush again. And again, if we are somewhere over this path in the middle and we change our mind, it will redraw it completely. So we don't have to go all the way to the end to continue drawing. We can start from maybe right here. Maybe I thought this was just too flat and I want to go and make it a little wavier. All right, the other thing we can do is we can edit the paintbrush itself with the paintbrush tool. We can come over here and double click, and these are the properties that are applied to all of our paintbrushes, regardless of what they look like. So in the fidelity, smooth to accurate, we're going to take it all the way over to smooth. And if you draw a very wavy line, it's going to smooth it out. If you draw a very wavy line and have your fidelity pulled this way, it's going to try to, as accurately as possible, get all of those waves and bumps. Keep selected. We're going to choose this, and we're going to say OK. So we just changed the way our brush behaves. Now that we did that, we're going to change our stroke weight over here to be 2 points. Oops, just 2, not 3. And with our paintbrush, we're going to go in and paint several more paths on the water. And as we do it now, see our brush is bigger. Notice also that it stays selected. So the dots stay selected. We just changed that behavior when we double clicked on the tool and we chose keep selected. So we don't even have to grab the selection tool to get it. We could just keep going. Whoops, that one wasn't hooked up. We can just keep going from here. Just make sure that you don't see an asterisk if you want to keep going from here. So I'm now doing some waves with a thicker brush. All right. Click away with your selection tool to deselect everything. And to change the options for an actual brush, we have to work over here in the brush window. So we're going to double click the brush thumbnail. So in this column of the 15-point flat brush, the one we were just working with, so we're going to double click here. That is going to bring up the brush options box. And we can change everything from the angle, the roundness, and the size. And we do see a preview of how it's going to behave right here. So we're going to first, it's not a 20-point flat brush. This is now, or I'm sorry, 15. We're going to rename it a 20-point flat brush. And we're going to change the size to 20 points. So notice that they got bigger down there. And then we're also going to change the angle to be 20%. You can see in our preview how that's behaving. 20% angle. And we're also going to choose, instead of random, we're going to choose fixed. So when random is chosen, a random variation of the brush angle is created every single time you draw. When it's fixed, it's always going to be held in this exact same 21-degree angle that I did. Roundness of 0 is the default and the size is 20. So because we had this clicked on, it was giving us a preview of how it was going to change this brush. We're going to say okay, and it's going to ask us how we want to do this. So this brush is in use and some of the strokes may have overridden options. So do you want to apply these changes to the drawings that were actually drawn with the 15-point flat, or do you want to leave the 15-point but now have a new 20-point added to your brush list? We're going to choose leave it alone, don't apply it, and then okay. Leave strokes, okay. If you need to, deselect, and we're going to move on to the next brush type. So our goal was not to change these to a different brush, it was just to modify the one that we had in our arsenal. So going forward, we now have a 20-point brush rather than that 15. Obviously, the plus sign you recognize from all the other panels in Illustrator, you know that we could add a new one as well. It's not that we need to overwrite everything, but you certainly can. So removing a brush stroke. Before we move on, let's just grab this purple stroke right here. And notice it looks like maybe just a purple 1-point stroke, but it actually looks pretty big for a 1-point stroke. And that's because it does have this touch calligraphic brush applied to it, and they want that removed. So at the bottom of this panel, there's a brush with an X through it or a no sign. Click on that, and that's going to take the brush away. So it no longer has the brush applied, it's just a purple 1-point stroke now. We're going to change the stroke weight over here to be 10. And we're going to deselect. We will come back to that later. We don't need to have a purple tree here, but for now it's just a 10-point stroke, regular, no brush applied to it. So file, save as, and that got us through page 340, and we can save and then move on to the next brush.